Hello everyone, my name is Korosh Erfani. I am the writer of the book Infinitylogy, and we are making a lecture of this book for this part number 9. In the 8th past part, we made a lecture of the foreword of this book Infinitylogy and also the introduction of this book, and we have finished the introduction in the part 8, and we said that from the next part, part 9, we will start to make the lecture of the chapter 1 of this book. So let's go through the first paragraph that says the statements and assertions we put forward in this chapter will need one by one to be tested, studied, and verified. Their status here remains decidedly evocative as some fresh thoughts on infinity and nothing more. So from the beginning we are saying that what the reader is going to find in this chapter 1, with many assertions regarding the the different thematic of infinity, infinitude, and so on, are just suggestion and nothing else. So because as we explained in other videos, we are aware that if we want to be taken seriously by the scientists, for example, we should be able to demonstrate the reliability and the actuality of what we are advancing here as statements and assertions. And that's why when we are delivering many statements like the one that we are going to see, you cannot really say that because I thought this, so it should be true. No. Maybe yes, maybe not, but we need, as it has been said, we need to test it, to study that, to verify that, to check all these assertions out in such a way that we can be sure that we are talking about something that has some roots in the real material world. Otherwise, that would be just pure speculation, even though it's a question of the philosophical speculations. We cannot really be sure about what we are saying without having gone through a process of verification, of testing, so that's why we are talking about Infinitylogy as a discipline. And you remember that at the end of the introduction of this book, we said that and the different steps that we have to go over contained for one or two parts the work on the methodology of the way that we are studying infinity. So that's why everything that we are going to say in this chapter is just evocation, is just a suggestion. These are just a hypothesis, and we should effectively think about that and then work on that. So that's why I have to say that regarding all these assertions, we are producing many other materials that I presented in the video number 8 with the website, the CRDI, and I said that if you go to this website, you will find many papers that have been done regarding the different subjects that we have evocated, we have just suggested in the book. So there are many papers. There are other books also indifferently to the book we are talking about. There are other books like The Basis of Infinitylogy, for example, or Infinity in Action, where we have been developing some ideas that had been firstly suggested and mentioned in this book, Infinitylogy, we are talking about. All right, let's go through these assertions, right? The suggestive assertion, the hypothetical assertion. We classified them according to the main topic on which we want to develop these assertions. The first one, it happens, it's about matter. So what is the first assertion that we have on matter? It's about existence includes anything made of matter. So which means that from the beginning we are saying that what we consider as existence is everything that had been or is made of matter, right? Anything. And we choose this word consciously and purposely. Why? Because we want absolutely to include everything that we can imagine made of matter. So what is the subsequent argument that we can draw from this first assertion is that there could be, we are not sure, right? We are not sure at all, but there could be something that we call metamaterial. We don't know what exactly it is, but if it exists, right? If we have something one day in 1,000 or 3,000 years called metamatter or metamaterial, so in this case, we should put it beyond existence. Why beyond existence? Because we said that for us in this work of infinitism and also infinitylogy, existence is exclusive to everything that is made of matter, which means everything that is material. So if there is something, we don't know, but if there is something immaterial or metamaterial or non-material, whatever it is, it's not of the matter, in this case, we can consider that something beyond existence. So that's why we use another word in the third statements, it's all. And as you can see, I put it in a capital so that we can distinguish it as a encompassing notion, right? As a widespread notion. All includes matter and maybe probable metamaterial. So if there is something beyond the matter, beyond material, then we can put it with the existence, which is exclusively including everything made of matter, in a concept of all, right? So as you can see, we said then the material part of the all, the existence, is infinite. So from this part, we start effectively to talk about the infinity, infinitude, and the way that we consider the universe. We view effectively the existence. And as you can see, because existence is made of matter, because existence includes everything made of matter, we consider that as infinite. So it means that everything material is infinite. And we will develop this concept. Other parts of all, if there are any, if one day we discover something non-material or a metamatter, for example, could be infinite or not. The problem is that we just don't know, right? So we are sure, according to infinitism, and all that we are producing is just to prove this point, we know that the matter is infinite, at least according to the infinitism, according to the theory, philosophical theory of infinitism that we are developing. Everything is matter, is infinite. Now, if we have something that is not material, would it be also infinite or not? We don't know. right? We just don't know, because we are talking about something that doesn't exist for now, or at least is not known to us, so we cannot know if it is true or not, right? The fact that it's infinite or not. Now we continue with other assertion. Existence is knowingly made of matter, which means as far as we know that, the existence is made of matter, right? Now, what is the matter? Matter is the endless subsequent set of components and their interactions. So it's a question of a set, and this set is made of components and also the interactions between the components. And the particularity of this set is that just endless, right? And we will see that if we say subsequent, it means that the components and interactions are creating it permanently. It's not something that we can summarize in the word being. We cannot say matter is simply, but it's a question of something that is being, and more precisely, it's becoming permanently, constantly, endlessly, right? And it comes from what? It comes from the components and the interactions between the components. So that's why the other statement says that this endlessness represents infinity. So if we are talking about the endless subsequent set of interaction between the components, then this endlessness is a synonym or a similar to the word infinity. Why? For these two reasons. Matter is the infinite subsequent component and their interactions, as we said, right? It's an infinite. Above we have used the word endless, and here we replace it with the infinite. Matter is the infinite subsequent component and their interactions. And second, matter is the infinite number of interrelated components. So both of them are talking about the same thing with two different formulations, but with the common denominator, right? Which is the infinite number of components once, and in the second place, the infinite number of interrelated components. So as you can see from the beginning, we are linking the concept of existence and the matter through infinity, right? And we are not really dancing around the bush for talking about the infinity. As you will see later, everything that we are considering as real, as an actuality in the material world, is effectively infinite. So that's why from the beginning we want to set it up clearly for everyone. Now, we continue by saying that any material finite contains infinitude. So usually we define the things in finite and infinite, and we are saying that when we have something finite in our hand, for example, or in front of us, it's a question of an infinite things. So whatever is the object that we have considered as finite is insidely, is structurally, in the inner structure of itself, an infinitude, right? It's a question of infinite structure within any finite thing that we are dealing with. So that's why we said also any finite is structurally infinite, right? So you cannot find something considered as a finite, as an object, for example, or anything that is not structurally infinite. And all the theory of infinitism is based on this idea of finding effectively the infinite structure of anything, which means that we can deal with any object, any phenomenon in the world, and we can be sure at the same time that it's a question of the infinite structure, right? Structurally infinite. So that's the idea. Now, we continue by another assertion that says any infinite is composed of finites. So, if the finite is structurally infinite, this means that any component of a phenomenon, right, is also infinite. So that's why the infinite is itself composed of finites, and we know that the finite is structurally infinite. So it's not very hard to understand that from this starting point, we are presenting an image of the structure of the world that is simply infinite, right? So whatever is the angle by which we are viewing a thing, viewing a phenomenon, we can see that it's a question of an infinitude, right? And that's why from the beginning we try to establish the main and the basic rules of infinitism, which is to find infinity in everything, absolutely everything. Now, we are asserting that existence is the interaction of infinite containing finites. So everything that we have in the world, in the universe, are effectively part of the existence, and the existence itself is nothing but the interaction between these infinite infinite entities that are containing the finites. And as we know, the finites are structurally infinite. So, which means, as you can see in this statement, existence is the interaction finites containing infinites, right? So you can see how we have something that we call in infinitism the sameness. The sameness is when you have two apparently different phenomena, but if you look closely to each other, you can see that they can be replaceable by each other, by the other one, right? And here you can see how finite and infinite, the finite and the infinite can be replaceable. Why? Because the finite is composed of infinite and the infinite is composed of finites. So this is the exchangeability, the total exchangeability between these concepts that create also the notion of the sameness of the existence. And we will develop this concept of sameness in many of our production, and you can find it down the books and the articles that we have already published. So the following statement tries to summarize that existence is the interaction of infinities. So from these two statements, we can draw the conclusion that existence is the interaction of infinities, which means if everything is infinite, and if the infinity is effectively the interaction between the finite, and if the finite is structurally infinite, so what we have as the total existence, and inside the interaction of infinities, the interaction between the infinite things, the infinites that are made of finite, the finite that are made of infinite, right? And by this interaction, by this interrelation of the concept, we can have an idea about how infinitism is conceiving the notion of existence and also the real world. And this is one of the particularity of what we are doing, that you cannot really, you don't need to make a total abstraction of the real world in order to have the conceptual aspect of the material existence or material universe. No, by projecting the materiality or the actuality of the universe in the conceptual construction, or on the contrary, by trying to projecting the interrelation between the concepts over the material world, you can reach the same conclusion, the same outcomes. And that's very interesting, because usually in philosophy we need to do it by the intermediary steps. We have the sphere of concept, and from this conceptual sphere we need some proof, we need some examples, we need some samples in order to arrive to a tangible understanding or perception of this purely abstract conceptual sphere. While here it's a question of a direct link between the materiality of the world, of the universe in the one hand, and the conceptuality of the theoretical construction on the other hand. And this is something interesting that we met in many cases. We were treating either from the concept to the reality or from the reality to the concept, and we saw that how easily it can be connected and linked to each other. Now, another one is infinity is the endless reproduction of infinitude in finitudes. So what we have as a precise idea of infinity is that it's a reproduction, and this reproduction is endless, and it's a question of reproduction of infinitudes, and where it happens inside, within, in the frame of finitudes, right? That's another formulation of the interaction between the finites and infinites, right? Anything that is finite and the concept of the infinite. So here is the same thing. And if we want to have an idea about the infinity, we see that it's not question of something abstract, completely abstract or completely theoretical, but it's a question of a process of reproduction. It's a question of action. It's a question of a mechanism of production of infinitude in finitude, right? Which means the infinitude reproduction inside of the finite objects. Same thing here. Infinity is endless reproduction of finites by infinites, right? Which means that through this endless process of production, we get effectively many phenomena, many objects that we can consider as finites, and they are made by infinites. Infinite of what? We said infinite of components and infinite interaction between the components. So even though these statements progressively accumulate and create some kind of complexity, conceptual and theoretical complexity, but we can see that there is a simple argument behind that, a simple basic of explanation beyond this apparent complexity, which is normal because we are talking about the notions like existence, universe, matter. These are the things that are substantially complex anyway. But as we are trying to explain through the central concept of infinity or infinitude, we can see that finally the rationale behind the interactions between the finite and infinite, or finitudes and infinitudes, are not really as complex as some can imagine. So we will continue in the next video the other statements. We are in the page 22 of a book of 149 pages, and there are many things to explain, but I would like to emphasize on the particularity of what we are developing in this book. The idea, we shouldn't forget the idea. The book is Infinitylogy, Foundation of a New Discipline. And we said that we have to elaborate some conceptual basis in order to later shape a methodology, to construct a methodology for Infinitylogy, right? And these are the grounds, the conceptual grounds for this methodological construction later. If we want to build a methodology for Infinitylogy up, so we have to have the foundation. And these assertions we explain in this video are just the starting segment, the starting point of the explanation of these theoretical or conceptual grounds or basis or foundation in order later to create a methodology. So in the next part we will continue this assertion on matter, and we will see how they start to interact, the statements start to interact with each other, and it creates some very interesting vision or worldview about the universe in which we are. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I encourage you to visit our website. We have 3 websites: www.infinitylogy.com, infinitism.info, and also the crdi.com with many text and materials on this subject. Thank you, and see you next time. Bye-bye.